everybody. I'm Matt Valley. Welcome to another episode of the Rock and Roll Research Podcast, where we share the super cool backstories and side gigs of the insights and analytics pros that you trust. Today's guest is not a stranger to many of you. It is my friend Kahren Kersten. She is a senior consultant with Cambiar, and she's also the founder, chief insights activist at her own firm, Experience Insights. She's got a whole list of accolades. I'm going to hit on a couple here. She's a member of the Insights 250 2025, which is cool. She's on the Market Research Council, and she's actually the vice chair of the Emerging Leaders Program. She's on the board of the Insights Career Network. She does all kinds of good stuff on her own free time for this industry. So good on you for that, Kahren. Now, her journey through insights and actually design thinking has been a really interesting one. Now, how did it start out? It started out with young Kahren as an aspiring artist. So we're going to talk about all that and more on today's podcast. So welcome to the show, Kahren.
Thank you, Matt. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. I'm glad that you do an episode. I really wanted to dig into some of this stuff and get to know a little bit about your story. So, very excited to cover that today. Before we jump in, I do want to say a couple words about the sponsor of this episode, which is a company called Insight Sutras. Very good company. It's been around since 2020. They are a go-to partner for operations and analytics support for all you independent researchers out there, for you market research companies who need good expertise, really super reliable at a good fair price that can help you still be very profitable in the work that you do. So Insight Sutras, it's an excellent company. Check them out, insightsutras.com. All right, Kahren, let's do this. Everybody's got a story about how they got into this space. There have
Yeah.
been many, many interesting ones on this podcast, I must say. So let's hear your story. So how did you get in and give us a little bit of the flavor for your journey so far?
Okay, yeah, sure. Thank you, Matt. And I agree. It's such an interesting industry because so many people come to it in different ways. Many falling into it, although more and more I'm hearing people are actually deliberately choosing insights, which is very
Ah,
cool. But yeah, so my journey, it's a long one, an interesting kind of twisting one, where I've kind of picked up a lot of different skills along the way and keep bringing them back into insights because, again, I think that's what makes insights so unique as an industry. Um,
sure.
but I started out, and funnily enough, you'll see how it kind of came full circle. I started out when I was thinking about college and what did I want to study? What do I want to be when I grow up? And I was really interested in organizational psychology
Okay.
because, well, I thought psychology in general was interesting, but I didn't think I could sort of sit and listen to people tell me their problems all day. So I thought, right? And so I thought, but I've always been fascinated with how businesses work. And because it's basically a lot of people all working together, and then that's what makes the business perform and create value. And so you're still working with these individuals within the business to well, it's the business itself is like a person, right? Because it's got all these different departments and everything within it as well. But anyway, so while I was super interested in organizational psychology, I wasn't sure exactly what my career options would be. I was a little hesitant. So I ended up opting for something a little more practical, which was business administration. I was like, I can't go wrong here because I'll still learn about the business. I'll still learn about the departments and what it takes to run a business well. And just don't have to take that extra leap into something that felt a bit more niche. Now, when
Sure.
I got into my business degree, and this was in Leeds in the UK, I came across marketing, and within marketing was market research. And so it was actually the closest thing I had seen that was similar to what I was interested in. It was sort of
Sure.
understanding the psychology of humans, but in the marketplace, not necessarily within the business itself. And so, gosh, I was lucky because my own dad happened to be in the industry anyway. And so Simon Chadwick, for anyone who doesn't know, um,
Not just in the industry, right? So,
sorry.
the Market Research Council Hall of Famer, as a matter of
Yeah, exactly. I know. So what better person to ask? Although I didn't quite appreciate how much of a legend he was when I was younger. But but he did sort of guide me and help me to discover what would be a good option for me. Which companies would be great to work at? How do I want to gain experience and learning more about, just directions I could take. So yeah, I started working in London at GFK and OP was the first job I had. But and then I moved on. I actually ended up in Brain Juicer Labs for quite some time, which now System One, but that was like my favorite job I've ever had, just because we were at the cutting edge of behavioral science and integrating that within our methodologies and developing new methodologies. So it was really a creative and kind of thought provoking, like experimental, kind of all those things that I love in my work. Um, and so worked at a few other agencies while I was there, but over time, I realized, okay, I really like innovation research, but I actually want to be more involved in, driving the actual decisions of what solutions we're creating.
sure.
And that was where, like for many years, while I loved what I did, I loved the analysis, I still felt a little distant from, the actual decisions that were being made within businesses. I was mostly agency side that whole time, but also a lot of it was evaluative. It was like innovation, concept testing, or tracking experiences and validating advertising effectiveness. So all great stuff, but it wasn't quite as creative as I needed it to be. So there we go back to, taking my kind of childhood passion as an artist and being really creative and feeling like, how can I bring this back more into the work I'm doing?
Sure.
So I ended up moving back to the States and kind of like serendipitously came across a degree in industrial and product design, which
Ah,
it was so weird because I found this. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know this kind of a degree existed. I didn't like, can this be a real job? This sounds too fun. You're just like making new products all the time and getting to sketch things out and create things with 3D models and also doing design research. So I thought it was really fascinating. And that was really where I learned all the design thinking that I still use in my day-to-day work and how I approach problem solving. But what was interesting, so while I was getting my degree, I actually started working with Simon too. So I was kind of, doing a little bit of both of these things. So I was like, oh, this feels a little bit like organizational psychology, this kind of this management consulting thing I was trying to get my head around. And then at the same time developing or cater, really nurturing the more creative side of myself and really love this idea of like, especially, and you'll know, like in market research, we provide a lot of direction to a lot of different decisions, but not necessarily are we looking at what needs can we serve? What gaps can we fill? How can we make people's lives better by creating new products and services? And so that was really what I loved about my design degree, and still what I carry with me today is that view of like, okay, are we designing something that makes people's lives better? And then how are we helping them find that product or service and then use it and then get the support through customer service and have good interactions with the brand all the way from discovery through to but purchasing and then ongoing use. So
yeah,
that kind of ended up completing my whole view of, research can inform all these different things and make people's lives and experiences with brands really incredible. But for me, it was important to explore that whole kind of that whole end-to-end experience, if you will. That's why
sure.
when I graduated, I ended up starting my own business because there's not really a role out there that looks at it in that way, right? It's like it's the whole journey that I was really fascinated with. Um,
Sure.
And then, also, getting some experience with designing as well. I'm really, still very fond of that aspect. But it's the design research combined with the market research combined with the customer experience research that has always been kind of my sweet spot. So anyway, sorry, I told you this was a long story. So so anyway, while I've been working for myself for the last 6 years, kind of in that kind of that space that's very holistic and working across departments and the whole experience, I've also been working with Simon. And so it was funny because we never like intentionally thought we would end up working so closely together. And that's what's bizarre because I started my own business, so we start having conversations about running your, how do you do this and how do you market yourself and what kinds of work are you doing? And so then I kind of keep getting pulled into more and more Cambiar projects. And then I would be like, oh, I've got this cool like approach that I use over in my business. Let me bring it over here. And so sort of started experimenting and combining and just more and more naturally over time, this just sort of randomly, it just felt like we had such a strong connection and we're very complementary in terms of our skill sets. And so he's been wonderful enough to bring me into his world and teaching me all the things about management consulting, that I've, again, it's brought me back to my passion, which is helping organizations perform well and deliver great products, create great value, but in ways that also are fulfilling for the market and the employees that work there.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a really fascinating path, and it's so much of what you've done is a great asset to the engagements I'm sure that you undertake for Cambiar, which I, of course, I'm on record as saying it's kind of like the McKinsey for insights companies, right? So we insights companies are helping brands and companies with strategy all the time, and when they need help with their own strategy, then KBR is a good place to go. So cool stuff. It's a great story. Also, you mentioned Brain Juicer, and you said Labs, which makes me think Orlando Wood. I'm
Oh
guessing
yeah, yeah,
Orlando.
he was my manager.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. Here on this podcast, and you've got something else in common with Orlando because was also an artist, right? Which you
Oh
might
yeah.
not know. His passion was watercolor, as I recall. But let's hear about your early passions, forays into art, and I know you've got a really interesting story associated with that too.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I think it's an important part of kind of it, you'll know this by now, Matt. I love being introspective because I think the more we understand our motivations and why we make the choices we make, then we're more in control of how we navigate, next steps and how we overcome challenges. So, and that artistic part has been a huge part of the decisions I've made later in life because I neglected it for so long, and then it just came like a slap in the face, like, hey, you can't abandon this.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, so I was lucky because my mother was an artist. Sorry, she was an artist, a school teacher who also taught. Yeah, I was actually her student in one of my classes once, which really hilarious because I would give her a hard time. But I was lucky because I I had this exposure to her. She's amazing, like just truly so skilled. So I started learning at a very young age, and it was an outlet for me. And so the story I was gonna say was there was an art competition, a statewide art competition. I think I was in second grade, and so I won it, and I was given an award by Hillary Clinton because Bill Clinton was the governor at that time. So,
Oh,
um, yeah, so I mean that was very cool, and I continued nurturing that. My mom actually encouraged me, continued encouraging me to pursue art. she actually started selling prints of my work when I was 11 for hundreds of dollars as well.
Oh, that's amazing. That's really
Yeah.
neat. So I have to ask, are you still at a point where you can just dial the phone and hey, HRC, this is Kahren. So you still maintain that relationship with Hillary, or is that
No, but you know what? I'm gonna put it on my to-do list.
no, that's really impressive. I mean, selling your work, I could only imagine the art I was producing at age 11 and 12. Um, it definitely was not worth hundreds of dollars, I'll say that. And still to this day, it's not the case. So
Abstract art, Matt. Come
there
on.
you go. There you go. Cool. So yeah, of course, like you said, that's foundational to who you were later. Obviously, creativity has been sort of a through line throughout your career. So that's very cool to hear. All right, so let's get back to insights for a second. You're somebody that people listen to, right? You are a
Sometimes.
leading voice out there in the insights wilderness, and I'm curious from your perspective as you look out into the future. We're dealing with all sorts of change in the space. What does the future look like from your perspective?
You know, I'm very positive about the future. I'll bring back the creative thinking into this for a second as well, because now more than ever do we need to be our own agents, our own leaders in this world, and to have the agency to, make decisions and do things differently and be innovative, right? And it's if we're too stuck in a rigid way of doing things, a set of rules we're always following, that is the death of creativity, absolute death of it, which is why, I believe that we all fundamentally have creativity within us. It's just knowing how to tap into it, knowing how to apply it into the work that we're doing, because the opportunity is there. And the more we can cultivate that creativity within each individual, the more like the better solutions we're going to come up with, the more collaborative we'll be, the
Yeah,
more we'll be able to shape the future to be what we want it to.
yeah,
And so I am very positive because, we're what humans are like. We resist change. We like to default to the comfort. And then also just thinking culturally, thinking outside the box and doing things differently can be very scary in the culture we're in. But now, because we're forced to do things differently, because we have to adapt, I think that's going to bring out a lot more of that internal, like that natural entrepreneurship in people, which is
sure.
basically like being creative, right? Because you're having to apply, critical thinking, but also creative processes to generate new ideas and test these new ideas and find a different way to deliver a different type of value and a higher value. So I'm actually really excited because I think we've been a little too comfortable for a little too long.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
yeah, I agree entirely. I think what's so exciting about this point in time is there are so many companies experimenting with new things. There are so many new entrants coming in from the outside. Not everything is valid. Not everything is going to work. But it feels like this lab, like with a whole bunch of Tinker Toys, right? Everybody's trying. It feels to me like if I would describe, my first, I don't know, 15 or 20 years in this industry, the research industry is pretty dogmatic, right? Here are the ways that you do things. These are the best practices. They've been the best practices for 80 years, right? Um, and now we're kind of blowing that up. Like, okay, what if we rethink this, right? Maybe we can arrive at a good, solid, valid answer in a completely different way, right? And I think those things are really exciting. It's going to make this industry better in the long run. So yeah.
It will. It absolutely will. And the other thing I've realized, just kind of moving across so many boundaries that are unusual for a typical person,
Yeah.
is that there's actually a lot that we are already doing that's similar. It's just, can we learn something from an adjacent discipline,
Yeah.
something a little bit unique about what they're doing, and then just sort of tailor that and then apply it in our context. And that is essentially what innovation is. It's just you're making connections across different things that normally aren't combined together, and you're finding a new way of packaging that up and delivering it. And so we are actually, you know, we are so much more capable of being creative in the way that we approach the problems that we have. And people, if they embrace that, they'll find how much more enjoyable it is. And I'm sure you can relate to that, Matt, because you strike me as a very creative person too.
Well, I do have a creative endeavor, which is, of course, I'm a drummer, but I
Yeah.
I don't consider myself a musician. Actually, I don't even consider myself a drummer. I just play the drums, right? So that's that's what I do. But I do love to flex my creativity when I can as well. Like you said, I agree. Everyone is creative. But a lot of people just don't trust themselves to be creative, or
They
they
don't,
think that what they produce isn't creative.
yeah.
But this is a muscle that we can all flex. So yeah, that's my belief. So I'm sticking to it. Okay, Karin. Um, so you are a very busy person, of course, and you're helping your clients at the highest level. Um, I'm curious to know what your media diet looks like, right? So we all make time for media, either for insight, inspiration, or just I need to unplug and just enjoy myself. So what is earning your time from a media perspective nowadays?
I was thinking about this before the call and I was like, oh my God, there's just too many things to mention. Because it's like, and I also would say, like, I wouldn't treat it as necessarily traditional media, but it's like I'm thinking about, oh, what are all the things I'm tapping into to stay current and stay connected? And it really extends way beyond media. So, like, just from a media perspective, we're obviously not starved at all with online publications, right? And again, I could list all of the different industry organizations and associations all over the world that are providing great thought leadership, right? So obviously tap into those when I can. I'd say the media that most naturally comes into my work, just because I'm having to stay on top of what's going on, movements within the industry, what are organizations, what new products are they bringing out, or new hires or recent acquisitions, like those kinds of things I'm seeing on MR Web and Research Live. So most naturally come across those. Um, but also I love reading books. So I'm, um, uh, kind of classic in that way. Like I actually have a bunch of books on my desk right here just because I was thinking, what would I recommend? But it's again, so Adam Grant, I love. Organizational psychologist, expert in sociology, professor at um, Wharton Business School.
Okay.
So love him, read all of his books. Can't recommend them enough. I've also been reading Brene Brown recently,
Yeah.
um, reading things around influence and persuasion, behavioral science, anything around innovation and creativity and workshops. And pretty much I just like to stay on top of all the things that are relevant to the work I do and can help me continue to stay fresh in my thinking.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, there's LinkedIn, right? So that's a whole other way of tapping into things because that way you're hearing about what's happening in the moment. Like people are posting about something current, and then that's a chance for everyone to pile in and have a conversation. So that brings its own advantage. And so you'll know, I'm on LinkedIn a lot. So love staying in touch with LinkedIn for that, but also the conferences the industry events. I know it's not media, but it's another way to stay connected.
Sure.
Because there's nothing like seeing people in real life. Like I got to see you last week, which was
Yeah.
super cool, you
Yeah.
know? Um, so yeah, I think staying connected in all the ways that you can, and both in person, both with books and reading the news and thought leadership. I'm all about it.
Any guilty pleasures you care to offer up in terms of like streaming series or anything?
Oh, let's see. I'll tell you what I'm watching right now that I'm really excited about. I mean, I'm sad that it's going to come to an end soon. So, House of Dragons,
Okay.
so good. This season is amazing.
Yeah.
And then also Silo. I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh, I have not. I have not.
Oh, that's on Apple TV. Oh man, it is just such a good series. And yeah, they're both coming up. They're both coming up to their finale, so I'm a little sad, but
All right.
yeah.
All right, cool. A couple of recommendations. I appreciate that. All right. Well, this is the Rock and Roll Research Podcast. After all, Karin, we've talked about everything, wide-ranging conversation, but we haven't hit music yet. This is my
Yeah.
jam, right? So, and I have no idea. You and I have never talked music, so I have no clue what your music taste is. So I'm super fascinated. So let's say you are stranded on a desert island, Karin. You have three albums of your choosing to keep you company for the rest of your days. What are they?
Okay. I warned you before the podcast that I was going to have a little bit of a different answer to this. Sorry, before I answer, is that a poster of Slayer that
Of
I see?
course, of course,
Okay.
of course. Slayer all day, every day. Come on.
No, that makes me that pleases me because I used to be really into like heavy metal as a kid. That's my brother's influence. But I've gone through different music tastes. So today, now, and I don't hate me, but I don't actually listen to rock really anymore. Like I can. It's not my preference.
It's okay.
But
I'm not. It's okay.
you still like me? Okay. Okay. Yeah, no, my nowadays I love house music.
Yeah,
So I mean, I was in heaven when I lived in Europe. It was like that is the norm. Everyone listens to electronic music.
yeah,
So when I'm back at home, and I do feel like I'm stranded on a desert island sometimes back in America because it's not as big here as it is there.
true.
So, but I still love my European DJs. So I have different ones that are coming in and out of my preferred set. But if I had to name my top three right now, it would be Nora on Pure. She is incredible. Have you
Okay.
heard
What's
have you
that?
have you heard of her before?
No, I am kind of a novice. I enjoy house music, but I could not name an artist to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, they all copy each other's stuff anyway. So,
yeah.
like, oh, let me take that and remix it. So there's Nora on Pure, Marsh, he's a British DJ, and the New Aspect is another British DJ. DJ I like. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so this would be a very interesting island experience, right? If you party all the time, it's like your own private Ibiza, right? So,
There
uh,
you go.
it's good stuff. Excellent, excellent. All right, Karin. Hey, I've really enjoyed this conversation. Got to dig in a little bit, learn some things about you that I didn't know previously. So I appreciate you sharing. Love your insights on the future of research, all that good stuff. And fortunately, we're in touch because we're kind of working on something together, right? So I will be talking to you soon, which I'm looking forward to. So let's make it happen. We'll talk soon. Rock and roll.